Hello, man, brother. This is a short introduction video to men's work. The emphasis in self-development and growth, both personal and spiritual, through the prism of being a man. Because most topics that we talk about, most things that make us human are the same for men and women. But different things come to the fore as important or needs to be emphasized when we are men. And approaching, especially my humanity and how I function, my biology, through the prism of being a man is a really beautiful and valuable way of doing it. This is partly because many of us have grown up with a challenge inside of being a man. Maybe confusion about what being a man is about, what is a man, and also how do I handle these things that supposedly or apparently are more loud or unwanted from men. Many of us have been on the receiving end of both men and women criticizing, being fearful, skeptical, in some way regulating expressions in us that are unwanted or scary or unknown. And doing work on ourselves with other men, whether it's in a group or a one-to-one session, is the only place to find like true safety, in the sense that things in me that most women can't handle or find disgusting or scary or that they judge in some way is much easier to awaken, and most importantly for what we're talking about here, to make it mature, to develop it, to allow it to come to its healthy and empowered expression, harmonizing my biology with the whole, with the totality. So to begin with, just as an open question to you, what do you enjoy the most about being a man? What is it that you love about your experience as a man? What gifts do you have as a man in this world? Or what makes those gifts that you have as a human more particular because your biology is that of a man? Because the emphasis here in my work is the strengths. We spend a lot of time looking at the shadows and taking seriously the stuff in us that is damaged and not understood and comes out in confusing ways. But everything that we carry is there for a reason. It has a gift. It has an expression that is needed. Everything you have as an individual is needed, is wanted. And ultimately, the only thing that life does is to sharpen those qualities or skills, maturing them, making their expression more useful. That's what the self-development journey is all about. It's being honed as a tool. It is for all my expressions, everything that I've experienced, everything that makes this me, is to bring that into harmony with the whole. So again, what gifts do you bring? What strengths do you have? And from the positive perspective, what in you do you wish to improve? In what ways do you, in what ways are you not good enough? Not in the sense of not being good enough, I'm not good enough. But in what ways do you need to take more responsibility because it's not good enough? What is going on? What you're doing? Men's work is very often a lot more direct. When men work with men, we can be more direct with one another. Because this is very often the way to our empowerment also, is to be direct and honest. So when I ask you, in what ways are you not good enough? What I mean is to address directly that part of you that wants to be better, that wants to improve, that wants to grow. Because this is a really beautiful part of our biology, the evolutionary role of men. As men, our sense of being, and in many ways our sense of value, comes from our doing. This is opposed to the more feminine, and I say feminine, not women, because we are all balanced beings. We all carry both. So we both genders, both sexes have feminine and masculine qualities, let's say, and they differ from individual to individual, and all of it is perfect in that particular individual. But the masculine value is the doing. It's my activity that defines me. And this is why we men tend to be more competitive, because it's through the doing, it's through the challenge that we feel mastery, that we feel that we can handle, that we feel that we are strong, valuable. I am of use in this world because I have this skill, because I can do this or that. And which is why it's so challenging for us and can bring us into deep, dark places when we feel that we don't have value, when we feel that we don't have a role, that we're not needed. And this is really important to be aware of, because the only one who can do something about this is me. And as a man, this is really important. The path of responsibility is really, really important as a man. Because the path of the boy is to be reliant. Reliant on mom, reliant on dad, reliant on the tribe. Someone else provides what I need. This is what it's like when we're children. But a lot of us carry this with us into being an adult. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We just haven't experienced anything else. We haven't been taught how to take responsibility. Life will continuously mirror to us where we're not taking responsibility, where we're not showing up fully, where we're not bringing our presence, where we're not taking charge. But since we haven't learned to understand this information, this mirroring, we don't really know what's going on. We often listen to the feeling that it generates inside. A feeling of fear, sorrow, and frustration, anger. Someone is pushing me down, someone is telling me that I'm not good enough. Or I am not good enough. When we internalize it. So the mind interprets these feelings in ways where it feels true that I am wrong, that someone tells me that I'm wrong, there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough. And whether we blame others or we blame ourselves, this is not the path of responsibility. This is not understanding how mirroring works. Because mirroring is ultimately our own misunderstanding that is playing out in the world. My misunderstandings will translate into actions, into beliefs, into views that create my experience. And so when I don't learn to navigate this, the only thing that I have is my mind that tries to make sense of my unpleasant feelings. And this is how the world has been filled with men who are either frustrated and angry, maybe not most of the time, but at some point they will blow up. Or dejected men who have resigned, collapsed, fallen into depression without the true ability to straighten up again. Because we haven't been taught how to navigate our experience as men. And if we haven't been taught, if we haven't had role models, if we haven't had mentors who could show us the way, and in nature this would normally happen at a young age, and then here we are as adults and middle-aged men and old men sometimes, still with the mind and understanding of a boy who's still waiting for someone to come and fix it, or who still sees himself as oppressed, as a victim. And we all carry this. And we need to acknowledge it to ourselves, first of all, that I believe myself to be a victim, that I believe others to be responsible for giving me what I need, providing what I want. So, responsibility for me and for what's mine. No man can avoid this if he's walking his own true path. Only I can be responsible for my path. Which brings me to the second important topic when we're looking at self-development and growth and spiritual deepening also from the man's perspective. Pride. Pride is my greatest enemy as a man. And looking at the quality first, pride is a shadow expression. What the true, mature expression of pride truly is self-reliance. It is a beautiful male quality of being able to stand alone. In the face of opposition, not being understood, criticism, me as a man, when this is developed, I have the ability to remain stable, to remain upright, to remain centered in myself, in my own authority, when there's a storm, when there is conflict, when there is chaos. My masculine essence has the ability to remain here, to not lose his foothold, to not get carried away, to not be a victim, but to stay firm, grounded, unmoved like a mountain. Something that women long for, true stability in a man. But stability doesn't come on its own. It grows through experience. Because pride is fake stability. It is fake strength. It is a part of me that says, there's only me. I am the one. I'm the one who's right. I am the boss. Everyone should listen to me. I have to fight because everyone is against me. The charge is aloneness, often loneliness. It's insecure. It's small. It pretends to be big. It pretends to be untouched, unmoved by, beyond, above. But it's just a facade, which is why it's called pride, and it's one of the cardinal sins in Christianity. Hubris. It pretends greatness. And this is why many of us men have such difficulty receiving or asking for support. To be vulnerable. To admit to our weaknesses, that we did something wrong, or that we don't master something. That's why some of us brag and pretend and do our best to create an image in other men's and women's minds of who we are, supposedly are. But it's also childish. It is also the way of the boy. Because the boy thinks that his image in the world is something that he can pretend, manipulate, and that his value comes from outside recognition. And so being vulnerable, admitting to something that we can't do, the system feels it as weakness, and a man can't be weak. So we avoid it at all costs, and we develop pride. I'm a proud man. I will never admit to anything that's wrong. I am powerful. I am dominant. But this is the position of an insecure man. A man who feels unsafe in the world because he's not safe in himself. So pride is something to be aware of and navigate by. I need to learn to recognize it in myself, how pride expresses in my system, what emotions come that I can sort under the category of my pride. We can call it my facade, my ego, my need to appear as someone, my need for power. There are so many ways that I will trick myself into believing that what I feel is the right version, the gift version, so to speak, which is, as I mentioned, which is the upright man, the man that is a mountain. But why is he a mountain? Because he's safe in himself. He's secure in who he is, regardless of what others think. But male competition is there because men are insecure. It's because it matters to us what others think, whether it's men or women. And again, this is pride. True inner strength comes from me knowing who I am, where I stand, and what is important. I am anchored into my own ground. But this is not how a boy experiences the world, and if I haven't done the work in myself, if I haven't done the healing that I need to do, and also the journey into my own empowerment, and I encourage you to look at the other video that I have on my website about empowerment. I am not that man, and that is something that I need to take seriously and admit to myself, so that my pride won't guide me and create chaos and conflict in my life, because that's what pride inevitably does. It competes with its surroundings. It fights with it in order to win, in order to project its image of strength. Of course, that's not strength, that's power. Abusing power, unhealthy power. So as a man, I need to be really aware of my pride and what generates the response in me that comes from pride. And the key here is shame. It goes hand in hand with pride. So being aware of shame, looking for it, following it, is important. Because when shame comes in my system, everything in me will try to avoid it. And other emotions, competing mental interpretations, understandings, and trying to be better than what my shame tells me, is what leads very often to this pride. So shame is something to take seriously and to explore. What is this shame that I feel? Why do I think that it is shameful to feel what I feel? What are these shameful expressions that I have? And if they are truly shameful, why are they shameful? Where does it come from in me? Because when we've truly done the work, then shame is not a very interesting emotion anymore. But when we haven't done our work, shame is a very important signal, because what is acting out through me is shameful because it's not healthy. It's not aligned with the mature man. It's not aligned with the world, with life. It's not to judge it. It is to take responsibility for me and what I do, how I act, what I say. Not to beat myself down, but to learn to be a great man, an upright man, a responsible man, an empowered man. Because that man is needed. And our cultures and societies have forgotten what qualities that are needed from men. In our quest to empower women, we've sort of forgotten men. Something that is natural, something that isn't wrong. But again, instead of blaming and saying someone has done something wrong, how do I take responsibility for it? Is this the only way? The man who is a victim, who blames others, blames women, blames men, he can't be the gift. Because blame is the poison in this world. This is where all conflict starts. Accusations. But my invitation is that in a journey, and when it's taken seriously, it just naturally moves into the world at the same time, from a place that is noticed by others, by men and by women. I become the man that I'm here to be by taking full responsibility for what's going inside and actually doing what I need to be doing. Because my pride will tell me that I don't need help. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm good enough as I am. I don't need therapy. I don't need men's work. I don't need to go to workshops. I don't need to work out. I don't need to look in a particular way. I can just do whatever. That's what my thoughts will tell me. This is the way of the boys. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. Good luck. Right? So, as a man, I'm not good enough. And what am I going to do about it?